Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host and joined now as always with my blue collar badass Matt. How's it going, man?
It's going fantastic, Dylan. Another fun Friday, dealing with unexpected hiccups on a construction site, but the work day is almost done, so it's good to be here.
Yeah, we were talking before we went live here on, your poor planning does not constitute an emergency on my part, which in construction, as much as we'd love to use that line, can't always be used because the show must go on.
Way easier said than done sometimes.
Especially when you got people yelling at you, all that kind of good stuff. And guys, today, so if you're live, you see her, Mari Madrigal is our lovely guest today. And Mari founded Foremost Improvements in 2018, focusing on commercial and residential construction. And Mari came from a sales and customer service background, which enabled her to see this market, construction, right, from a customer's perspective, and really just saw the need for quality materials and service, which you guys have been following along with us for a long time, right? Quality service, communication, all those things that we talk about here all the time. So Mari, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Dylan and Matt, for having me. It's a nice day out here. Get to keep the window open a little, so it's a nice day to be doing this.
Windows open, aren't you in Chicago?
Yes. And it's bipolar weather here. It's a little strange. It was ice on my truck this morning, and then this afternoon I'm like sweating. So you just don't know what to wear when you leave your house in the morning.
Yeah, we hit 55 on Wednesday, I think, and today it was 18 or so when I got up. So it's doing the same thing, just other side of the lake.
Yeah, exactly. We're pretty much used to it.
Yeah. Then there's Dylan in California.
I'm in the mountains, man. But yeah, we've been nice here recently, so I can basically choose my weather. I think ski slopes are still open up the mountain, and then it's 75 down the hill, so works out.
This seems so unfair. I don't know, Dylan. That's why it's a beautiful view back there.
Only in the
foothills. Go ahead, man.
No, only in the foothills.
Mari, why don't you give us a quick background on you and on Foremost Improvements and how you got to where you are now?
Oof, the long or the short version?
Up to you. We've got time.
Well, once upon a time. No, I'm just kidding. So I am actually originally from Panama, half Panamanian, half Costa Rican, born in Panama. And but I immigrated here to the States almost 8 years ago. And when I first got here, after a little while of being here, I sort of fell into the construction industry. I started doing sales for a roofing company. And in all honesty, I had no experience. I didn't know. I've always been really good at sales, but I honestly had no clue about any of the construction here. I mean, it's embarrassing to say because we do roofing, siding, gutters, and now looking into doing other stuff as well. But I didn't even know what siding was, like, for real. I mean, construction is completely different here than it is in other countries, especially Latin America. So, but for example, for me, I'm the kind of person that I just don't believe in half-assing anything that I do. And I felt very awkward not being able to really explain things properly to my clients, right? So they would, ask me sometimes about, hey, is this right? Is this done right? Is this, does this need to be repaired? And because I didn't really know, so I figured instead of just kind of winging it, why don't I learn? So I actually started hanging out with all the crews whenever it was one of my jobs. I would actually take them coffee and donuts And no joke, I'm a fluent Spanish speaker, and, majority of the workers are Spanish speakers. So I would just go there and I would hang out with them. I would bombard them with questions. And literally, I would just interrogate them. And I'm like, here, coffee, what is this? And I would seriously just hang out with them. And I think that they thought it was cool that I wanted to learn. And because I was genuinely curious, it was a whole new world to me. I didn't really know what it was. And then I started reading up books. I started taking courses. I started just really delving deeper into more of the reason of I just want to be able to do good work and to service my clients correctly and be able to answer their questions and not look like a fool because I didn't know what I was talking about. And that just really got me into getting very interested in construction and that aspect of it. And then I started learning a lot more. It helped me incredibly with my sales. I kicked ass. I did really well in that industry. And then, I've always wanted to just learn more. So a friend, he was going to start his company too. And I went and I helped him start his company. I was doing like the production, just managing all the production, like the project manager. I was running all the crews. I was doing all the POs, all the paying out all the subs, closing out the bills, and I was still selling. So it was cool because it gave me that other side of the construction, of more the admin side, right? And and then in 2018, I decided, I want to start my own company. I was really scared. It was probably one of the freakiest decisions I've ever made. But the main reason I took this leap of faith was because although my friend does awesome work, right? But I'm just super picky, like unbelievably picky about how things are done. And I wanted to be able to control quality and just to be able to make sure that things were done exactly the way that I envisioned it. Like if I'm telling my client this, I want it to be done this way. And I always want to do things to a much higher standard, right? So that is the long story of that. And ever since then, I've just been slowly growing this. I'm very happy. All of our clients are referrals. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got started. I got a little long-winded there.
No, not at all. But there's a lot to unpack there. You touched on communication right off the gate, which is something that we talk about a lot on this show, and how important it is, and how, going out and doing what you did, bringing coffee and donuts or bringing lunch or whatever it may be, is the quickest way to win over the old crusty guy in the site that has been doing this for his entire life and has this just wealth of knowledge up top. So I applaud you for taking that initiative, because that's how you learn. There's a lot of stuff in the trades, a lot of aspects of the trades that you can't go to school for necessarily. You can't really get it out of a book. You have to kind of be on the rooftop in your case and really dig into what's going on. So it's a great way to approach it, I think.
Thanks.
One of the other pieces that I want to go back a little bit on is you mentioned construction being different in other countries. As some of us are well traveled, I've been to the majority of states in the US. I think I'm missing like 5. Been to Mexico, been overseas in Southeast Asia, and there's a drastic difference in what types of buildings you can put up in like Thailand, Laos versus anything here in any state. But you mentioned like for in Panama, even, what's the big differences that you see in construction types elsewhere in the world versus what we put up in the US?
I mean, for right off the bat, for example, roofing, right, is so different. You don't see pitched roofs. I mean, that just doesn't exist. With shingles like that, you just don't see that. At least, Panama, Costa Rica, and then I grew up in Mexico, actually, the majority of my life in Central America. So at least from that aspect of Latin America, I mean, most of the roofs are flat. I mean, and the buildings are concrete, and it's just a completely different, they don't have that they have beautiful, beautiful structures, but I think here things are made to be more like to be quicker. And so example, like I said, just everything being built from wood, like, you know, the interior of the houses, like the walls and the framing. I mean, that's not very common over there. And like I said, the biggest difference for me was the exterior, which is what we focus on the most right now, and roofs. I mean, the first time I ever got on a pitched roof, I mean, that was a 412. And if you know roofing, I don't know if you know. So you know that that's nothing. It's basically flat. And maybe one day I'll get the guts to share this photo. It is so pitiful. I'm not kidding. I got off the ladder and I just was shaking. I just fell there on the roof. And the guy that was training me, he just snapped a photo because he's like, one day you're going to look back at this and laugh. And I do. And it was crazy. I was like, what? There's a roof with a pitch? I mean, how can I get on this? Because don't get me wrong, when I was a kid and I was, you know, get up on the roofs, but it was flat and, you know, naughty ages, you know, when you're a teenager, rebellious. But this was totally different, completely out of my comfort zone. And it's just, but for me, it was fascinating. It was, yeah, it's a challenge and it's different, but wow. I mean, I was like a little kid, you know, just seeing things for the first time and like, wow, oh my God. I know maybe to you guys, you think she's exaggerating, but for real, I mean, I seriously remember the first day I asked and I was like, what is sight? And they all just looked at me like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, what is sighting you talk about? So just different things like that, right? And of course, there's a lot more order for a lot of things here too. The rules and regulations is a much higher standard. But again, so that's why I wanted to really get to know that, because again, if I'm going to do this and if I'm going to do it right, I want to really understand what are the biggest differences here. So yeah, that's probably one of the most noticeable, the roofs are just crazy.
Yeah, and traveling, I've noticed that too, you know, and basically anywhere else in the world, a ton of concrete structures, but you always have rock, right? Rock is always available. Water is always available to make concrete, where trees, right, or steel or anything else is not typically like readily available. You know, in the US and with our like railroad system, getting trees from, you know, the Oregon and Washington coast or Wisconsin to the rest of the country is pretty easy. So definitely something for people that haven't traveled, right? This is not something you notice. Like you don't think about it. Like you go to basically most other countries that I've been to, it's all concrete, right? Like concrete's an easy thing. It's readily available. The plant setups for it, you know, like heck, for roads, right? They put asphalt and concrete plants in the middle of a highway to create that stuff. So it's again, it's small footprint, easy to get in and out, and you know, all the raw materials to build with are again, like when you start thinking logistics, right? It's a pretty simple on-site thing where trees and steel often isn't.
Oh, so different. Like you mentioned about roads. I mean, just the roads here are ginormous. Seriously. Like I travel, I every year I go to visit my family, and it's just a slap in the face again. Every time I leave the States, I'm like, oh, right. Oh, wow. This is it's just so different. I mean, and it's awesome. I'm not complaining. I've gotten very, very used to these big, beautiful roads that we have here. It's awesome. But it's just so many different little things that I think for one, traveling is so important because it opens your eyes. I love traveling, and we are so blessed. I know it's off topic, but it kind of ties into, like, I am incredibly proud and honored and blessed to be here, right? And like the amount of opportunities, and it's just crazy. I mean, from those spacious roads that you have to the fact that some immigrant from Panama who doesn't know anything, didn't know what siding was, you know, I can start a company in construction, and it's not easy, but I mean, man, I love what I do, and it's awesome. It really is. It's fun. It's scary. It's freaky, but I don't think I could ever go back to doing something else.
That's the beauty of construction, right? Is it's always scary and freaky. I've been in construction for 2 decades or more than 2 decades now, and it's still scary as hell on a regular basis. You know, and I still come across things that I've never seen before, or, you know, I get tasked with building a type of building or a style of finish that I've never even heard of, and it's freaky from a lot of standpoints, you know. But it's a powerful story you have. And so what attracted you to roofing specifically? And I'm going to follow up real quick too with, are you doing mainly residential or commercial also, or both, or one or the other?
So both. Of course, that's, like I said, all of our clients are residential. I mean, our referrals. I'm very, very blessed. And we have been, in this last year and a half, we've been getting more into commercial, more specifically commercial roofing. And I am actually really, really fascinated by commercial roofing because it is so different. Of course, no two houses are exactly the same, but yeah, they kind of are. You know, I mean, metal roofs, cool, the same deck, and, you know, it's a shingle, and, you know, you can put on Da Vinci or a different type of product, but flat roofs or low slopes, I mean, they're all different. Even the ones that are the same are so different from what you see underneath it. And I am just fascinated every time I get up on a roof, on a flat roof. And it's crazy the things that you can find, from the shoddy work someone else did to the amazing work that someone did. And I am just, because for me, I think I'm still like a little kid in that sense. And I'm like, wow, oh my gosh. And every time I get up on the roof, I learn something new. I mean, it's just, to me, it's so interesting. And I'm getting more interested in different aspects of construction. Like recently we've been getting requests to do more remodels and interior work. And up until now, it hasn't really been my thing. But I think, if I'm being completely honest, it also stems from the fact that it's more unknown to me. Right. And the exterior world is really how I got into this. And so I think that will always be a little bit my true love, and what I'm more interested in. But yeah, I mean, commercial roofing, seriously, in my free time, I will watch videos, I will learn, I will ask questions, I'll hang out with the foreman and the crew, and I'll still bug them. But this time now, I can afford to buy them a little more lunch. And but yeah, I mean, I just think in general, construction is really interesting. Don't ask me why. I just sort of fell in love with it. Everybody's surprised when they find out what I do. They're like, wait, what? But why? Well, why not?
That's a great way to look at it. And, you're kind of going down that natural attrition, right? Of you've mastered the shell, right? The exterior, the facade, the roof, and now you're kind of traveling inside the buildings a little bit also. And, you're pushing the boundaries and staying outside of your comfort zone, which is huge. That's how you grow in this industry.
Very apprehensively, because I've talked with you, and you've coached me through a couple things of, I'm like, man, but I'm scared. I mean, the whole thing, I think if you're not a little bit scared, then you get too comfortable. And even with, I'm very good with roofs, and I know a good amount, but there's still so much that I don't know. And I want to know, because I want to ultimately better service my clients.
Yeah. And if you're not constantly testing your own boundaries, right, no one's going to test them for you. No one's going to force you to grow or force you to do new things and to try new experiences. So if you're not constantly doing it yourself, you get stagnant, is the way I look at it. And that's, that's how you create more opportunity in this industry also, is by You know, you always are going to keep your roofing and your siding, of course. You know, that's your true love. That's what you're great at. But you've gotten to the point now, I think, where you can reach out and try other aspects of construction. You know, see what else clicks and what doesn't. But you've always got roofing and siding, obviously, to fall back on. So if interior remodeling isn't your cup of tea, then screw it. Don't look at it again. Go, you know, do roofing and siding until you get the next opportunity. Maybe it's concrete, you know, maybe it's plumbing. Who the hell knows? But if you're constantly pushing outside of that box of your safety net, you know, you're bound to grow.
For sure. I mean, and again, it's just one day at a time and learning what the opportunities. And I've in the past I've turned down opportunities that now in hindsight I see maybe those would have been very good. But I'm honestly at that point where I'm learning that balance. And I think you and I have touched on that before of where do you say yes to a really good opportunity, and where do you also know what your limits are? Because more than anything, I am just a diehard for being honest in this work. I mean, I will not lie to my clients. The biggest jobs I've closed have been with my clients told me that that I told them the truth, even though they didn't want to hear it. And then that made them want to go with me. And it's not because, I think it sounds good. It's just genuinely, why would I lie to you? Why would I tell you something just to get your job? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm here for the long run. I'm not doing this because I got bored and one day I just decided, let's do roofing and construction. No, I think that there is a need for doing good work. I mean, and I know that it's hard, and I want to, as crazy as it sounds, I want to play my little part in helping people realize that not all trades are shady and liars, and maybe it's going to take a long time, but if I can do my part to help change that, that's really what motivates me to want to keep doing this.
So, Mari, do you actually do work in Cook County?
Yes, sir, I do.
So, all right, for everybody that doesn't realize this, so Chicago is Cook County. Cook County is one of it's Chicago, right? So if you can make it being an honest contractor in Cook County, you can definitely make it anywhere. We've touched on this so much. I mean, the reason Matt and I were laughing is, I mean, honesty, it pays, right? And in construction, we joke about it, but it's an old boys club, right? Like it's
That's all I know.
if you're in, but if you're in, you're in. It doesn't matter, like your background, none of that, right? Can you show up, which is the big one, right? And you get that first shot? Can you get that first opportunity to get in the door with somebody? Mm-hmm. If you can, you do a good job, exactly what you said, be honest, right? Can you deliver? Yes or no? Mm-hmm. You know, pricing, everything else, right? Like, can you be honest, do a good job, show up when you say you're going to? You're in the club, right? Like as you build that trust, as you build it, you know, jobs then do come to you, but it takes getting in the door, taking your licks in the industry and building that trust, those relationships with, you know, as a commercial roofing contractor with GCs, with the other subs, right? And to build those relationships over time just strengthens those bonds. People don't like it. They don't understand it coming from the outside. But for everything that you've done, right? Build rapport with people on the job sites, build rapport with crews, build rapport with GCs, you know, bringing people coffee and donuts, right? Food works, people like food for sure works. Like all this stuff is you're doing the right things. And honestly, like looking back, coming here, right, immigrating 8 years ago, and to forward 6 years to have your own company, to now be running it for 3, like that's awesome. That is incredible. And that is the story that everyone should take to this, that you became obsessed with a trade industry, right, in commercial roofing. You spend all your free time learning about it. So you have a willingness to learn. You're not, you know, like too proud to not learn, to not grow, to not develop, to not go into other things. I think this is a huge, huge lesson for everybody out there, right? To become obsessed, to learn, to like not be too humble in a way, to go and ask about whatever it is that you want to learn. And I think in construction, especially, sometimes we let our pride, our ego get ahead of everything else. And I mean, these are such big lessons for anybody out there, right? That you took the initiative, you learned, and you just developed these relationships where, as you said, like a lot of your business is coming from referrals. Like, we don't want to do this, but they asked, so we're like, okay. It's huge. I mean, congratulations for you. And to continue doing this is, I mean, we talk about it all the time, but again, you're just another great example of how anybody can make it in this industry if they choose to.
Oh, first, and I appreciate it. I mean, you're making me sound way better, but I mean, honestly, it's just, and I tell people, look, I'm nowhere near being perfect, right? And I think that that's also part of just being leveling with clients. And I mean, I've made mistakes. I've messed up so many times, even, recently with a colleague, it's like, oh, man, and how do I rectify this? And because at the end of the day, I mean, no industry is perfect, right? I feel like construction, though, is a little extra special where things, no matter, I mean, you guys know that when you plan everything, you got your timing and you're like, man, this is just going to kick ass. And this is just going to be an easy peasy breeze. And then all of a sudden, one little domino decides to fall out of line. And then you're like, what the hell? And and all sorts of craziness. And that's something that I take it so personally, because in the sense I'm like, man, that's my name out there. And I want people to know that. But one thing I'm learning, and I'm really having to learn to kind of take a chill pill, is look, as long as you're there for clients and you own up to your mistakes and you rectify the situation. I mean, and so many people, my friends have told me, because they're like, you're panic when there's something goes wrong in that sense, because I'm like, but I want it to be perfect and I want the clients to have a perfect experience. And I'm like, okay, Mari, just take a deep breath. Things happen. But I think what I'm learning right now is just how you handle a situation after, right? Because like what I tell my clients is, listen, sometimes things are going to happen. Maybe the shingle fell off the wrong way and it accidentally broke a light. Don't panic. Call me. We're going to take care of it. Like, that's ultimately what I want people to take away from that is things are going to happen. You can count on us. Right. And I don't know, for me, it seems simple, but something that's been challenging for me too, and I take it as a challenge, is when clients are so flabbergasted by things that in my mind seem pretty basic, right? Like calling you if I'm running a little late, let you know, or if for some reason something happened and we got something wrong, telling them. And then people seem to be shocked by that. And, or hey, you actually sent me a quote when, and I'm like, but duh, I mean, like, and lately I've been doing a lot more. We've been getting a lot of calls for commercial stuff, like emergency repairs and things like that. And the people that they've been telling us, they're like, you answer your phone, you actually come out and take a look. And I'm like, do other people not do this? Is this like, am I in like La La Land here? And I love sending photos, because especially for roofing, I tell people, I'm not expecting you to climb your roof. Now, if you want to, go for it, but don't use my ladder, liability, but use your own. But no, I always tell clients, I'm not, you do what you do and we do what we do. And I want there to be zero shadow of a doubt in your mind that we actually did what we told you we were going to do. Because my gosh, the amount of horror stories that I have heard about people paying $18,000, $20,000 for a new roof, and they didn't get a new roof. I mean, or roofers go back with OSB, which I think is crap. And they don't, they quote them for CDX or things like that. And I tell people, well, why, as contractors, right? What are things that we can do to build better? Seriously. let's just build better. I mean, it's not rocket science. Seriously, just you see something that's not supposed to be done right. How do we do it right? And if you're afraid that you're not going to make money, well, then for starters, tell the client the truth. Tell the client, listen, do you want something that's going to last you for a long time? Or do you want something that's just, slap a little bit of tar on it and, hope that it's going to be good for a few years?
So first of all, Dylan, we have to clip that last 45 seconds. That is going to be a commercial for our teaching the trades how to build better course. That was perfect, Mari. And you nailed it though. Especially when times are good economically, it's not uncommon in residential or commercial for people just not to call back or just not to show up or not to give you a proposal when you want it or when they tell you they're going to. My youngest brother is getting his feet planted up in northern Michigan with a residential remodeling construction company, and he calls me once in a while and he's like, it's the craziest thing. He says the same story you just said. It's like I call people back and they're shocked. I said that's because that's the crazy shit of this industry, right? That's what everyone like the three of us are trying to push and bury and just get rid of, because it's just there's this old mentality where screw it, I don't need it. I'm not starving today, so I'm not going to call back. And construction has always been feast or famine, and it always will be, right? And it's those same guys in the next downturn that they're either going to be the ones calling you every single day saying, you need a new roof, let me do it, or you need a new deck, or you need whatever, or they fall off by the wayside and you never hear from them again. And it seems so simple to people like you and us, but I think we're all very type A personalities. We're very motivated to produce the best results, to stay entrepreneurial, we can't do what we do if we provide shit service, right? It doesn't work. So it seems easy. It seems so easy, but so many people don't get that. So thank you for bringing that to light. And I don't know, I could go on and on for hours on that.
And it's on both sides of that too, right? So call back if you can't do the job, or call back if you're going to give a quote, right? Both sides, you need to just communicate that. And I think when you do that, right, to say, hey, we could take this job. Here's, we'll give you a proposal next week or whatever, or here, what's your email, right? Whatever that is. But to say, yes, we can do this, or no, we can't. Either way, communicate your intentions, and it's a 2-minute phone call, right? Either way, it's a 2-minute phone call to say one way or the other. And I think we often forget about that on both sides.
For sure. I mean, and again, like I said, don't get me wrong. I have made that mistake. I'm not going to sit here and say that I have never forgotten to I have. And then I'm like, oh shit, oh my God. Okay. Then I'll contact them and I'm like, I'm so sorry, and then I'll even, if I know that I don't even have the face to then say, hey, let me still give you a quote. I said, if for some reason you haven't, I'll recommend them to somebody else. That's very good. But it's again tying into that, let's being honest, not just with the clients, but also with ourselves. And that's something I'm currently learning, in the sense of, it's really cool that I get a lot of requests and I get a lot of referrals, but it's also about knowing when to just be realistic with ourselves and say, I'm taking on more than I can. Because what is the point to have hundreds and hundreds of referrals and leads if you can't service them, or taking on more than you can because just to look good with the client? And I think the client will be grateful if you're just honest and say, hey man or lady, either A, this is out of my scope of work, it's a little bit bigger than that's something I can handle, or I am actually 2 months out. Because it bothers me the most is when people, because even when people do it to me, oh yeah, I can do it in 2 weeks. Really? Can you? Like, just be honest. Just, hey, I can actually do it in 2 months. Okay. Then maybe, because I'll value your honesty and I'll hold on. And it's like with this person I was talking to about, Matt, I turned the job down already. And I was like, this is way above my head. I mean, woof, I'm dipping my feet into the GC world, but I know I can figure it out. And they were like, no. She was like, I actually want you to, because you're the most honest person that I've ever talked to. And I don't know, I guess it's just finding that line, and circling back to what I was mentioning earlier about when do you say yes, and when do you also just say, hey, listen, this is a little bit bigger for me. And I think that it's a valid point to be able to just be honest with the person and say, hey, maybe this is something that I am looking to grow into, but I haven't done all of these yet, because the truth will find you out, for real. Like, it's going to come out one way or the other. And the worst way that it can come out is if you mess up so hardcore on a job because you didn't know what you were doing. And then the thing is that then you're stuck in this lie, and you can't be honest with the client and say, hey, maybe some clients don't want to hear that this is your first type of project like this, but some will actually be okay with you. I mean, I remember this client, and I'm always, she's going to have a special place in my heart. I mean, I remember I told her about it. Her neighbor had referred me, and I was still with the other client. Because I really didn't start doing my own stuff until the very end of 2018. I just did a few, right? And so anyhow, her neighbor referred me to her. And this lady, she's also an entrepreneur. She's also in a male-dominated industry. She's badass. And she's doing her own thing, right? And anyhow, and after I explained to her everything, I was just brutally honest. I was like, I literally just got my own license. I've been doing this, but I finally now have my own roofing license, and this is where I am, and this is what I'm doing, and this is who I am. And I said, if you don't feel comfortable with that, we could still work with the other company I was with. And I'm never gonna forget, she looks me in the eyes, and she was like, Mari, she's like, am I your first client? And I was like, well, in all honesty, I just signed one yesterday, so you're technically my second. And she was like, damn, I wish I was your first, And she was just so, that gave me so much confidence. And she was like, I'm going to give you a shot. Straight up, that's how she said it. Because you were honest with me, I'm going to give you a shot. And, she's like, and I believe in you. And I'm not saying that, some clients won't want that, but you never know who you can actually build a good relationship with, or some of the best clients you can have if you're just honest with them.
Because most people can smell bullshit a mile away, right? And so if you're just honest, whether or not you want to do the job, whether or not they like what you're saying, they respect that. And that person you say no to, they may be the next one to refer you to someone else, regardless, just because, hey, Mari said no, she doesn't have time, or she can't be here in the next 2 months, or whatever it may be. But she was honest. She didn't say yes and then not show up. And the other thing too with that is you got to trust your gut. Like, you as a business owner have to always trust your gut. I used to work with a genius of a man, and he taught me this saying, and he always would say, Matt, just remember, the absolute best project is the one you walk away from. Because sometimes, especially as you start, you're dipping into that uncharted territory now, right? Of looking to do GC work or what may it be. Sometimes things just don't feel right. And the worst thing you can do is always be a yes man or a yes woman. Yeah, we can do that. Of course we can. And in the back of your head, you're full of shit. Mm-hmm. But then if you get hired, and all of a sudden you're like, well, wait a minute. Some of it you can, I hate the term fake it till you make it, but there's a lot of other variations of it. Some of it you can learn as you go, right? But you can also lose real bad, real fast in construction. And there are also bad clients out there. So you have to always trust your gut. So with that, what would you say has been the most challenging aspect of running a construction company, aside from the fact that you build in Chicago, which I grew up there for a while. I don't know if I told you that before, but I can't even imagine. I can't imagine even touching that market, to be honest with you. But so outside of that, what has been the most challenging aspect of owning a construction company?
I mean, you say that it's challenging here, but this is all I've known, right? since I immigrated here. So maybe you guys think it's tough, but maybe that wasn't a bad thing for me because that's how I got started. Maybe if I go somewhere else, I'll be like, damn, this is easy. Gosh, I'm gonna leave Illinois. What am I doing over there? But this is what I've known, and I'm not saying it doesn't have its challenges. There definitely are a lot of challenges. I would say one of the biggest ones for me is, especially now that I'm getting more into commercial, is just having to, and I was on somewhere else talking about this. I never like to put the whole, I'm a woman and it's not, I don't like to lead by that. But I mean, but it is the reality. It is, I am a woman, and in a very male dominated industry, whether I want to say that or not, but it is the truth. So there definitely are challenges with that. And sometimes I think I get in my own head and I feel, man, sometimes I'll doubt myself more than somebody else. So I'm like, wow, I'm not like a old man, with like 30 years experience. But yes, that is a challenge, for sure. And like I said, I'm constantly having to learn, and I have messed up and said the wrong thing. But every time I just want to be like, gosh, okay, I need to learn better. And I need to, just take that to homework and really do that. So for sure is being sometimes getting past that first image with clients, especially more in the commercial world, because I can't tell you how many times that I have been, a lot of people have been awesome. I mean, but I have had a few of like, what are you doing here? You don't look like you're in construction. Like, that seems to be the thing I get the most. You don't look like, what am I supposed to look like? I mean, as far as I know, I have a brain and a heart, and I'm a human being. And yes, I agree. There are some things we have definitely different physical capabilities. But at the end of the day, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. So you either get on board with the fact that I'm going to be here, and I'm probably going to be your competition in a few years. Just mark my words. But that is, I think, has been one of the bigger challenges, is really having to be sometimes taken seriously initially when people first meet you and they first see you, and then they talk with me, and then they always end up saying, oh wow, you actually like know what you're talking about. But I've taken that also as a challenge, and also almost as a blessing in disguise. Yes, sometimes it sucks that I'll get questioned way more than I know men will for certain things, especially when I'm on a roof with someone else. Oh my goodness, I will get interrogated, and I'm thinking to the main, do you really ask a guy this? And I'll answer, but that has also forced me to really want to know what I'm talking about, and to really, really want to learn, because I'm not here to do this, like I said, just for fun. I'm not just here to look pretty and just, no. I want to be involved. I like getting up on roofs. I like that. And for sure. And I think with any small business is at the beginning stages, right? Because I consider 2019 my first actual full year, 2020 my second full year, and now going into the third one. And with any small business, it's that struggle of just growing and the time and looking for that balance. But I'm honestly very blessed. I've been super blessed to meet such awesome people, like you, that people will give me advice and I'll ask, and that will take the time. And I feel so honored that people will, people offer to mentor me, and people say, hey, if you really need anything. And I know that they are coming from a good place, and of course, I've come across people that are super sexist, but the majority of it has actually been really good reactions from people. So I can't complain, to be honest.
Which is awesome. We, taking that adversity in part to make yourself better, right? That's a great attribute. Before we maybe have a few closing questions here, Mari, where can everybody find you?
So on LinkedIn, it's Mary, spelt Mary, but it's said in Spanish, so they're the confusion, but it's Mari. If you can't roll your R's, then it's Mari.
Sorry.
I know, I give you guys a break. I make it easy. So LinkedIn, Mari H. Madrigal, website, foremostimprovements.com. That's pretty simple enough. And we're going to actually be expanding and going by Foremost Solutions, just to be a little bit more encompassing of what it is that we do and to have different divisions for the different departments. So be on the lookout for that. But for now, definitely, I'm also on Instagram under the same name. And I'm getting better with posting, but for now, LinkedIn would probably be the best way.
Awesome. So I do have one last question for you, and I try to ask this of almost everybody that comes on the show. There are probably a million issues striking our industry, our collective industry of construction these days, but what would you see is the biggest issue facing construction in general, and how the hell do we fix it?
Oof, quality labor. I mean, seriously, quality labor, and back with the whole thing about being honest about any type of trade, just having that clear communication with clients, and honestly, more recently, man, material shortages it's unreal. Lumber is a skyrocketed pricing. And I think it's gonna I think, again, I harp on this, but I think being honest is gonna be more imperative than any other time, because we have to be realistic now with our clients. Some things are out of our control with all these shortages. I know, you guys know COVID and everything, things were shut down, and then there's just shortages left and right about things. And I think that being proactive right now is going to be extremely important, and being able to really relay that to our clients and giving them a realistic expectation of what's happening, what are the deadlines, because if not, I can seriously foresee at the end of the year a lot of contractors losing jobs because they promised something, and even though the material shortages are out of our control, I think that if we really build that good relationship with our clients, they will stick around for us. So.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. It's to say it's crazy right now in construction is an absolute understatement. A year ago, or let me rephrase, 2 years ago, I could hold pricing for 45 days, 60 days, and it wouldn't really scare me. Today, if I get longer than 10 days out of some of my guys, I'm lucky. And we don't deal a whole lot with lumber anymore, but everything else is just doing the same thing. Steel, PVC, copper, everything. And it's got to level off, or else it's just gonna implode at some point. But right now we're definitely all in the thick of it. And see what happens.
The market is so volatile right now. It's scary, to be honest.
I would agree.
But all the more reason to build good relationships, build better.
There you go. Build better.
Awesome, guys. Well, I'll leave. I've got a lot to say on the lumber stuff, but that'll be a different tirade on material shortages and stuff. So you'll maybe hear that from me in a different context. But Mari, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate having you and really hearing your story on how basically anybody can come here, learn, grow, build a company, build business, and really do excellent, right? But it's a commitment to excellence. It's a commitment to being great, to learning, to improving, to growing, to communicating well, right? Everything that we say on this show all the time on, really just being great. So guys, go give Mari a follow on Insta, here on LinkedIn, whatever your preferred platform is to follow her, cheer her on in her journey, and see where she goes. So Mari, thank you so much for coming on. We've really enjoyed having you.
Thank you guys so much. This is much newer to me, but I'm really happy to be here and honored that you guys invited me. And, I just wanted to touch on that really quick, what you're saying about don't get the wrong idea, though. It's a lot of hard work, but honestly, as corny as it sounds, this is the land of opportunity. I mean, it's incredible. I didn't start with any outside funding, no partners, no loans, no investments, really just with my savings. And I mean, I have such a long way to go still, but seriously, to anybody else listening, if you just work your ass off, but at the same time, just really try to do good work. I don't think it's impossible to build something that you're incredibly proud of.
Well, because of that, I mean, you embody everything that's good in our industry. So people should certainly look up to you, and thank you for coming on, and I wish you the best, and stay in touch. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
All right, guys. Until next time.